I am not a digital artist. I mean, sure, I maneuver softwares and fiddle around with their mechanics until I can get a general basis down, but even then, I am not a professional. I just use these softwares for editing purposes. You know, that one job on the internet where I tell future adolescents about the world of Jamal through my eyeballs? Yeah, long story short, I needed to learn how to draw. Really fast. Way back when I first started my channel, I was lurking around the Animal Jam Reddit, Discord, and Instagram, looking for any artist willing to teach me a few tricks to master the craft of digitally birthing a new being. But long story short, I was never capable to find anyone. Anyways, later on, I found out everyone had one misfortune regarding the drawing program in the Play Wild game.
It is too limiting! Otter, tell me why, out of all the unlucky people on Earth, I had to be the one to stumble across this mess of a program.
Growing up, I was a painter/doodler of miscellaneous trinkets, but really, my skills all tumbled into the single category that I was never a drawer. Like, at all. Like it's embarrassing how much cringe I had to endure for the sake of this video's upload. But what I did realize back then was that I like to incorporate shading and realism into my pieces. So I scurried on over to Animal Jam and, yeah, that dream of becoming the next Animal Jam Bob Ross died the moment I was greeted with the brush and blur tool. I vividly remember back in the day, we didn't even have those new options of layers and junk. We had it rough, us veterans. It was surprising to me how much people still managed to create these types of masterpieces with absolutely no limitations. Okay, that was a lie. Everyone had limitations on this freaking software. I mean, look at these videos! These are incredible, and these are on AJ Classic. These are not even on Play Wild. What in the name of all humanity? Initially, the art studio was introduced to the likes of Animal Jam on July 19th, 2012. To access the studio, you would have to click the gaming icon at the top of the screen and select accordingly. And it has been that way of operations for 12 years.
Actually, at the time of uploading this video, it is 11 years. Get it right, Thepinkotter.
And even back then, before the latest, improvements, heavy air quotes, in the game, we suffered greatly with the little tweaks and limitations. For starters, I know that Animal Jam is supposedly a kid's game with no regard of the concepts of basic visual arts, but take it from an otter on the internet who took a singular art class in the 2nd grade. Literally everybody who got into Animal Jam used the painting activity at least once. And we all have experienced that furrowing thought that our art was trash. And I am here to reassure you that this time, it is not the artist, it is the software itself. Well, that saying doesn't apply to me since I draw below the 1st grade level. So in order to get further in depth about this software, I decided to pull up a beginner's tutorial of a digital landscape and follow along with it on the painting studio. Yes, I couldn't even pass the expert classes, so we are sticking with beginner. Laugh about it. I'm waiting.
Pump the brakes, dude. This is only my 1st class.
And first things first, I couldn't even make it past the 1st step. And it wasn't because I couldn't draw the shapes. The issue was the blending. I spent an hour fiddling with the smear and blur tool to get a decent blur, and even then it still looked like garbage. I was up at 5 a.m. making this video and I was struggling. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. This freaking blur tool was not computing with my brain cells. My 2 only brain cells. I couldn't operate it. I didn't even know if it was me, if it was the software, because yeah, I know I suck at drawing, but what the heck? Oh, sorry for the rant there. Anyways. So all my hopes and dreams vanished within the blink of an eye. That was great for my self-esteem. Honestly, apart from making videos, this was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I cannot even emphasize how many times I developed hand cramps and a potential carpal tunnel from this freaking software. Behind the scenes, I am a painter, and this simple drawing tutorial was like a piece of cake to my inner painter. My ego shattered in a million different ways when I couldn't even doodle it on a kid's game. That's depressing. That is depressing. To even come close to emphasizing the annoyance behind blending would be an understatement. I was able to master the concept of wispy lines, but even then, the struggle to get a decent blur and blend showed immensely as I continued on this. Overall, the painting turned out awful. Would anyone want this? I don't even want it. Do you want it? Okay. The layering, oh my, why is that so hard to say? Layering. Yeah, the layering was honestly the best part about the painting studio, and the only good thing I have to say about it. It is handy to have whenever I began alternating positions and colors. I remember when the studio didn't have the layering feature and how much I wished for one. The conveniency behind this feature aided the entire outcome of my masterpiece. Now I'm gonna turn into a negative Nancy and discuss the rest of the game itself. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. Yeah, the software limitations behind the tools only resulted in a messy outcome on my end. Not to mention, because I was seeking for a better result than the one I was getting, I ended up physically injuring my hand, pulling all the strings possible to try and revive my piece. I know that I am not an experienced digital artist, and I never intend to make a living in Animal Jam based off my crappy masterpieces, but conveniency would be such a great feat to bestow at that time. All I could think about, honestly, was the things that could be added to make my life easier. For instance, an actual blending tool. I cannot emphasize this enough. Countless times I sat in a singular spot on the masterpiece, struggling to maneuver the mechanics to at least get a doable result. The smear tool and blur tool did aid to an extent, but it only resulted in me losing so much time when I could have had a brush to do all the work for me in a single stroke. Another feature I would like to have would be to have access to a splotchy brush. Like if I wanted to vividly paint a nature-oriented piece, the splotchy brush could be used for thicket and trees. I ended up needing this brush when I was doing the clouds and water. I am a painter who likes throwing colors around to see if they stick, and a splotchy brush would be handy to use to play around with and make potential nature schemes. Last feature I am dying for is to have a size adjustment. Like imagine if you're on a layer and you realize your doodle is too small, and there is a size adjustment where you can not only increase the size of the layer, but you can move it to a separate location. I wanted to have the ability to transfer some of my rocky ranges to another location, but couldn't, and ultimately resulted in erasing an entire section. 30 minutes of my work down the drain in an instant. All in all, despite my external and emotional pain of completing this, it was still fun to mess around with. If you're ever bored one day, I honestly would recommend pulling up a drawing or painting tutorial and try to follow along on the Animal Jam software painting game. I can hear many of you digital artists clacking your keyboards, ready to rant at me for not doing these steps and that, and why I didn't shade something properly, etc. I can hear it all now. But I want to say, if you have any tips regarding art or digital art or anything of the sort, I encourage you to say them in the comments, because people could look back at this video and be like, this tip actually really helped me. However, art is art, and it will always look unique to the person constructing it. Altering results and attempting to improve is healthy, and that is the key to growth.
I have now made an infinite number of end cards. Hello, everybody. Special thanks to Dill Pickle for lending me his voice. That was neat. I've been wanting to include his voice in this video for a really long time, so that was neat. Also, special thanks to Carrie. Carrie's awesome. Carrie's cool. For also lending his voice to me. That was also very neat. Also, I am seeing the comments on my dragon video that the worm, like the apple with worm, WYRM, is like a fantasy joke or a little thingamabob. I know, it was a joke in my video. I didn't realize that jokes, I cannot make those kinds of jokes anymore. I really ticked off the fandoms and stuff. I am sorry. Yeah, but anyways, it was whatever. It was funny. It was funny to me anyways, so that's neat. Thank you for watching and hearing me rant about like all this stuff. Also, thank you everyone for participating in Mr. Wolverine's 1000 Sapphire Potion drop. I was there to help out and accommodate where I can, and I actually got to meet some of you guys, so that's really neat. I want to host events like that in the future. Okay, bye.